If you own an HVAC business in Arizona, you're sitting on one of the most in-demand businesses in the country right now. Private equity has noticed, casual buyers have noticed, people from all over the country are looking to get into this space. But what if I told you that despite all that demand, selling an HVAC business is actually harder than you might think? There are a few things about selling an HVAC company here in Arizona that tend to catch business sellers off guard, and in today's video we're going to uncover what those are so that when you go to sell your business, you can sell for more, you can sell to a good buyer, and with fewer surprises. Hi, my name is Handke, and I'm a business broker here in the Phoenix area. As a business broker, it's my job to help you value your business, connect you to buyers, and to get a deal to the finish line. Since 2025, our local office has helped several HVAC sellers, and I've listed and closed a few of those myself. Now, HVAC is a unique industry because there's so much demand for the services. There's also a lot of buyer demand as well. And the licensing side of it makes it different from almost anything else that we sell. By the end of this video, you're going to understand who's buying these businesses, how to make your HVAC business more valuable, the licensing issue that trips up more HVAC sales than anything else, and how to make sure that you walk away with the most money. So if that all sounds good to you, let's go ahead and get right into it. So first of all, let's talk about why your business is in such high demand. Now, as you know, Phoenix is constantly ranked as one of the top HVAC markets in the country, and it's not hard to see why. Our population keeps growing, it's hot for most of the year. Now, I grew up in the Midwest and we ran our air conditioner for probably 3 months out of the year. We lived in my childhood house for about 15 years and we never once had to replace the unit. Now, here in Arizona, I'm running my air conditioner starting in March and going into November. Remember that heat wave we had back in March of 2026? That's pretty uncomfortable to sit in, but it's not a bad thing for your business. And Phoenix has been one of the fastest growing markets in the country for years. Between 2010 and 2020, Arizona's population grew by about 12%, or about 750,000 people. And you can bet that all those people need air conditioners to live in the desert. So you got a growing population, a brutal climate, and you've got homes and buildings that can't function without you. Now, I've talked to buyers from all over the country and even buyers in Canada, all of who want to get a piece of the HVAC market here in Arizona. So now that we understand why your business is in demand, let's talk about who's buying these businesses. Now, there are two main groups of buyers. The first is private equity. Now, over the last several years, these firms have been buying up HVAC companies and rolling them together into bigger regional operations. Now, if your business is well run and it has real earnings, these are buyers who can move fast and they tend to compete with each other. If you're doing about $500,000 a year or more in net earnings, expect there to be at least some private equity interest in your company. The second group is individual buyers. Think of these like mom and pop type buyers. These are people who want to own a business and they see HVAC in Arizona as a smart place to get started. Now, if your company's doing under $500,000 in net earnings, expect most of the potential buyers to be individuals. Now, there's some good individual buyers out there that are serious. Maybe they've got an SBA lender lined up. Maybe they've got some family or friends that want to help them buy the business. But I'm going to be honest with you, for every serious individual buyer out there, there are probably about 5 or 10 of them who aren't. These are people who have never turned a wrench, they don't have any money, they're really just out there kicking tires. And in my experience, most of the individual buyers who inquire on HVAC businesses have no business doing so. And if you tried selling your business on your own without a business broker, you'd be stuck talking to each and every one of them, all while trying to run your company. But here's the good news, the demand is real. There are serious buyers out there no matter how much your business is doing in earnings. And this brings me to my next point, what is your HVAC business actually worth? Now, if you know anything about business valuation, you know that businesses sell for a multiple of their earnings. And if you didn't know that, be sure to go back and watch my video on business valuation. I'll link that for you in the description below. Now, it's true that HVAC businesses tend to sell for higher multiples than other businesses do, and as a category, HVAC businesses tend to do really well. But here's what I want you to take away from this. There's no single multiple that an HVAC business will sell for. Some HVAC businesses might sell for a 7 times multiple, some might sell for a 2 times multiple. In the end, your specific business is going to determine what your business sells for, and that's driven by a number of things. First of all, we have recurring maintenance plans, or your book of customers on service agreements. Now, all else equal, an HVAC business with service agreements is going to be worth more than one without service agreements because the one that does is going to be more predictable. Your mix of work, so service and repair, usually get valued higher than new construction because it's steadier and it's less tied to the building cycle. You're split between residential and commercial. Now, this one's going to be dependent on the buyer. Some are going to prefer one or the other. How tight your route is, so a dense service area is going to be more profitable, it's going to be more attractive than techs driving all over the state. Your team, so how many techs you have, how seasoned they are, and finally, this is the biggest one of all, how much the business depends on you. If you're answering every important call and you're holding every key relationship, a buyer sees risk there. But if the business runs on your team and your systems, a buyer sees something they can actually buy. That single factor can move the price more than anything else on this list. And if you're sitting there wondering what your business is worth right now, stick around to the end because I've got something just for you. All right, now let's talk about the licensing trap and the new SBA rules, and this is especially true when you're dealing with individual buyers. Now, you already know that every HVAC business needs a qualified party who holds either a commercial or a residential heating and cooling license through the Arizona ROC. Usually this is the CR39 license. But what owners don't expect is that when they go to sell, that license transfer has a huge impact on how and when they get paid. Now, hang in there with me because this might get a little confusing. Now, usually you as the owner are the one who holds the HVAC license. And when you sell, that license stays with you. It doesn't transfer with the business. The buyer needs to bring their own qualified party. And a lot of buyers, especially ones who are new to the trade, don't have one. So many times they'll ask you to stay on as a qualified party, and they might even pay you to do it. But here's where it gets complicated. If your business is worth anywhere from about $500,000 to $5 million, chances are that a buyer is going to finance the purchase with an SBA loan. If you've never heard of this, an SBA loan is a government program that lets first-time business buyers finance up to 90% of the purchase price with a loan. Now, before June 2025, the SBA would let sellers stay on as the qualified party, and even if you kept a small ownership stake to hold the license, they didn't make you guarantee the buyer's SBA loan. But in 2025, the SBA changed the rules, so now if you retain any ownership in the business, even 1%, you have to personally guarantee the buyer's SBA loan. Now think about that for a second. You just sold your business, but because the buyer needed your license and asked you to keep a small ownership stake, you now have to personally guarantee a loan on a company you don't control, and most sellers don't want any part of that. Now, if you didn't know about this, you could get months down the road with a buyer only to find out that either A, it's not going to work, or B, you're going to have to be personally guaranteeing a large loan. Both of those are pretty bad options. And again, this is where working with a business broker comes in handy. We're able to screen these types of issues out before you get months down the road with the wrong buyer. So if an SBA loan is off the table or the buyer simply can't cover the whole price on their own, how does the deal actually get done? One option is simple. You require the buyer to pay all cash up front at closing. Now that's the cleanest deal for you. You get your money, you hand over the keys, and you walk away. But the problem with that is very few buyers have $1 million in cash just sitting around. Now, if you insist on an all-cash deal, you shrink your pool of buyers down to almost nothing, and fewer buyers means less competition for your business, which usually means a lower sales price. You get the best deal by making your business easy to buy. When a buyer can get an SBA loan or when you're willing to carry at least a little bit of the financing yourself, more buyers can afford your business, and more buyers competing for your business drives your price up. Now, the second part of that, carrying some of the financing yourself, is called seller financing, and it's worth diving into. Instead of a buyer getting every dollar from a bank or bringing the entire sale in cash, they hold back a portion of the purchase price at closing and pay you the rest over time with interest. So let's use an example here. Let's say that a buyer offered you $1 million on your business. In a seller financing deal, they might pay you $700,000 at closing in cash and then pay you the remaining $300,000 in equal installments over 5 years. Now, a reasonable range for seller financing is somewhere between about 10 and 30% of the purchase price. I've seen it higher and I've seen it lower, and it may not seem like it, but there are some real advantages for you as a seller. First of all, you keep some skin in the game, which shows buyers that you believe in your business. Secondly, you spread out your tax hit instead of taking it all in 1 year, and you earn some interest on top of the sales price. Now, there's some risk here too. The bigger a portion you finance, the more exposed you are, especially if the buyer doesn't know the HVAC business. So there's a balance. If it's done right, it can be the thing that gets your deal to the finish line, but done carelessly, it can really come back to bite you. So I know I've given you a lot to digest here. There's licensing, there's personal guarantees, how the deal gets financed, but I don't want you walking away thinking that selling an HVAC business is a minefield, because it's not. Every one of these things has a solution. Now, the owners that run into trouble are usually the ones who tried going this alone and then find out several months into the process that the buyer they thought was good wasn't good in the first place, and they're back to square one. So to summarize everything we've talked about today, HVAC in Arizona is in high demand. People are moving here in droves, and it's not getting any cooler anytime soon. There are two types of buyers, and which one you deal with mostly comes down to how much your business is earning. HVAC businesses tend to sell for more than other businesses, but your multiple is set by your business, not necessarily the industry. Licensing plays a bigger part than most people expect, especially when a buyer needs an SBA loan, and seller financing can be a powerful way to get deals done as long as you understand what you're getting yourself into. So here's my honest advice. If you're thinking about selling your business in the next few years, talk to somebody who does this for a living before you do anything else. As a business broker, I get paid to make sure that you walk away with as much as possible from the business that you spent years building. So if you're curious what your business may be worth, or if you just want to talk through the process, give me a call or text me at the number on your screen. The initial valuation's free, there's no obligation to list with me, and give you my honest read on where you stand. Now, just two quick things before you go. If this video was helpful, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps other owners find it. And please subscribe to the channel because I put a new video out every week for people that are thinking about what's next for their business. And if you want to keep going right now, I've got a whole series on selling businesses, including a video that breaks down exactly how to value your own. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I hope we get to connect sometime soon.